Hey guys, good afternoon. This is Ron and Sophia with Tess here with you today. And today, what we're going to do is we're going to be taking a look at extensions and templates and automation things that's going to help you. Okay. I certainly want to stress to any of you, if you have a question, let's get that question asked so we can get it answered for you. And out on the Facebook page, Sophia wrote out there this afternoon, if you've got some ideas and some things you would like to see in a webinar, in the near days here, just let us know and we'll be glad to do those things for you. Okay, let's get started. Um, so I'm logged in here as Keith, travel agent. And the first thing he wants to do is he wants to make some modifications to an invoice. So our goal today is we're going to take a look at a process of sending someone on an international trip. So we're going to have things like passports involved. We're going to have invoices. We're going to have before you go, welcome home, thank you for your booking, and things like that. Okay. And so that's kind of where we're going to start. Now, to me, the harder part of this is knowing what you want to do and what to say. I can show you how to use the tools really easy, but it's getting organized. And so that's why I just wanted to kind of lay out, exactly what we're going to do. So here he's logged in. So we're going to come over here and come down here and go to templates and go to email templates. Now, of course, everything that we're going to show you today, you have to be on the advanced package in order for it to work. So, um, you want to make sure that you are, or you wouldn't see email templates. So here's a list of all his templates. And over here we have a button that says Manage Templates. So I don't really do any searching or looking in this area. I just go straight to this button. And notice it opened another tab. And this is our designer. So this is our drag and drop email template builder. And this is where we're going to do everything. So the first thing he wants to do is he wants to make a copy of an invoice and make some modifications on it. Okay, let me find my cheat sheet here with my modifications. Uh, okay, all right. So what he's going to do here is just search, and he's going to look at type, and he's going to find all the invoices. And let me see here. I have the test invoice detail. All right. And so this is the one that he wants to start with. That's the one that the top library. Okay. Now we can go ahead and open this and take a look at it. Okay. Now he can't make any changes to this or anything, but what he can do is make a copy of it. So I'm going to click here to add it to my library. So I'm just going to click Add to my library. And this is going to bring up this screen that's going to help you do that. So I want to change the name of it. It won't be a test, okay? And it's going to be, Keith is a sub-agent underneath Happy Travel. So I tell people, we're just going to put his name, invoice detail, okay? So this is going to be his. Now, the subject line is what's going to show up on the subject of the email when it gets sent. Now in the subject line, we have something interesting here that you don't see all the time. And so, and it won't come up like this. You have to type it. And we'll talk a little bit more about placeholders in just a minute. But what this is the client's first name placeholder. And if you type this exactly like this, then when you send it out, it's going to say client's first name, comma, information about your trip. Now, Keith is just a sub-agent, so he's going to choose sharing with nobody. Now, as far as the template header, he's going to choose to copy template header. Okay, you need to choose to copy because you need to get you a header. If you already have some headers, then you can use one that you have. If not, then you're going to need to copy the template header. And the same thing for the footer. I'm going to copy the template's footer. So I changed the name, left the subject line, share with nobody, copy template header, copy footer, and apply it. So that's pretty easy, and I think most of you have this down pretty good. And so here we have the header, and here we have the footer, okay? And of course, I can't modify them here. I would have to go to that header and footer. Now, what Keith wanted to do was to put some static information here below the payments part. So to do that, you're going to drag one of these grids over. In this case, I want it to go all the way across, and I'm going to drag it after the space, okay? And now I have an empty space. Inside that empty space, I would put a widget. So the widget that I want to show you here is called a text editable right here. It's different than a text. And what this means is that when I drag it over here and I add text to this, I'm going to be able to edit that in the trip before it goes out. And so I'm going to just type something here, and I'm going to replace this with my copy. And here I'm just going to say your credit card on file will be charged when the final payment is due. You can say whatever you would like to here. What you have to be careful of is what you put there needs to make sense if you don't edit the copy. And so sometimes people will make a note here and say, you know, here's where you're going to enter this information. Well, and then you forget to enter that information to the client. It just kind of looks silly. So that's what we're going to put here. All right. And that's all it's going to be in that one. And I'm going to add another grid below that. And I'm just going to add another widget, and I'm just going to add text. Now here I have just some static information that I want to add to this invoice. So I'm just going to copy and paste it into here. And so now I have all of my information. Okay. I can look at this here. I want to bring this up, and I've got all that set. And now the spacer is going to leave some space there. We'll decide whether we like that or not. So sometimes I get asked this question all the time. So I'm working on this and I make it and it looks really nice, but when I send it out, they're right in here somewhere, there's this huge white space, just a really big white space. Well, what happens is you got to be careful inside of, and I'm using Chrome, inside of Chrome, if you've added this widget called Grammarly and you're using that, what Grammarly does is rewrite the HTML. And so once this is used, then it's not going to work out right, because this is designed for this HTML to be very specific. And when an add-on like Grammarly is used, it modifies the HTML, and you're not going to have any good luck at all. So if you're using Grammarly, you do not want to have that on or have that on the browser when you use building templates and tests. I'm going to save this, and now I'm done. I'm all set. I have my template here that I can use. Now I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to go to a trip, and I'm going to open my trip, and I'm going to take a look at this trip, go to communication, and I'm going to find Keith invoice detail, and I can see what it looks like. There's 2 bookings, okay? And see this space right here? See, I don't actually like that, all right? So I'm going to go and remove that spacer out. And so I come back to my template here. I'm going to come here to where this spacer was added, and I'm going to delete this section here. Now remember that the top is for the widget and the right side is for the container. I'm going to remove that whole container. And so now I have this. Everything's good and tight here, and we should be fine. And so I'm going to save that. I'm going to come back over here, and I'm going to refresh, and then see it looks better. Okay? And so that's what I want the template to look like. So now I'm all set on my template. The next thing I want to do is I want to come over here and start looking at my other items. And so when I look at the things I want to accomplish, let me see here, let me find. So I've got that, I've got the invoice. So now what I want to do is I want to make one for a passport, okay? Now I'm going to come back over here to the templates. Now, see, I can stay here, and over here I'm going to come back over to the templates, and I'm going to go back to the list. So I go menu, templates, and I see all the list. So I want to take a look at the traveling emails, and what I'm looking for is a passport. And so here's a test library, check your passports. So I'm going to click on this. And so here is the passport email. And so I'm going to make a copy of that, and so that I can make some changes to it. Okay. And so again, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go here to copy, and I'm going to say, Keith, check your passports. Okay. And then check your passport, share with nobody. And here I'm going to use this copy. See, now I have one, and it was called test header copy. I don't want to make another copy. And my footers, I'm going to use this test header footer. And I'm going to apply it. So now this is my template to use. Maybe I want to change this. Hold on a second. Excuse me, sorry about that. So I want to change this image. Okay, so I'm going to click here on the image, and I'm going to select images, and let me see what I have. I'm just going to type in passports and see what I have available. And yeah, here's another passport. So I'm going to select this one. And now if for some reason I wanted to put a hyperlink on this image, then I would just paste that hyperlink right here. And I'm going to apply it. And so now I have the image. So sometimes we want to maybe change the properties of this image. Maybe I'd like for this image to go all the way over to the edge, so I don't have this white border here. Now to do that, what you're going to do is go to the right side controls, and we're going to edit. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on section number 1. And here you can see this horizontal, okay? And then I'm going to take all the horizontal padding out. This is the vertical. I can raise it up and down, make it tighter. This is the padding around, okay? And I can get this exactly the way I want. And so I'm just going to apply that now. And so I have that set. And I'm going to hit save. So now I have my invoice, and I also have the passport one. The rest of them, you can take a look. You get your list of what you want to be in your extension and your workflow, and then we're going to take a look at the templates that we're going to use. The rest of the templates that I'm going to use, I'm going to go and use one that's already there. So let's go back to tests, and now I'm going to come down here to my account, and I'm going to go to workspace extensions. And I'm going to add a new workspace extension. And I'm going to call this, Keith's always going to put his name there, and he would kill me if he saw I misspelled that. Okay, and this is going to be international travel. And he's going to use when sending clients Well, good thing I got spell check in it. Now, the workspace extension here, this is key. This is going to be for a trip. Okay, the workspace is going to be on a trip. Shared with nobody, and we're not going to use a tab, and I'm not going to add it automatically. And I'm going to set this to active. So I gave it a title, I gave a description to it. This is going to be used on trips, and I've made it active. And I'm just going to save it. So now the next steps is I need to come up with the task that I want to be for myself to be reminded, things I need to follow up on, things I need to make sure that I do. So this is a to-do list item for me, the agent. So I'm going to hit add task, and this is just going to be a general task. Now select reminder. What a reminder is the task is going to be due on a certain date. And would you like to get an email in your email box letting you know you have a task coming up in a few days? If so, that's what you're going to put here. So I'm going to go ahead and say 1 day. And the options is no reminder, get an email the day it's due, 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 7, 14, or 30. Okay. And you remind me something 30 days out, that'd be a waste of energy. So, but anyhow, here I'm going to put follow up on passports. I need to make sure that they have their passports. Now, I want to do this 2 days after task activation. Now, the choice is always going to be before trip starts, after the trip ends, or activation, which activation means as soon as it's added. And so I'm going to say 2 days after I add the client to the trip. I want to have checked in with them to make sure that they have their passports. And I'm going to set the task. Okay, so now I have that task set up. Here, I'm going to add a task for a payment due. And I want a reminder 2 days before. And this is final payment due. And I want this to be 45 days before their trip starts. Now, you're going to have to decide what you want in these things. I'm just using things that I've been told, okay? And so this is going to tell me that I need to check on their final payment 45 days out. We know inside the booking that you put the final, when the final payment is due. Now, that's the final payment due for that particular booking for that particular wholesaler. But you know, maybe you've got 3 or 4 bookings, and when do you want trigger to say, hey, I need to make sure I got all this trip handled? And so I put it at 45 days. All right, so I've got that. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to make sure that I have delivered their documents. And I'm going to put 2 days, and I'm just going to put here deliver documents. And I'm going to put this about 20 days, 20, 25 or something before they go. And I'm going to set that task. So these are 3 things that I want to make sure that I do, okay? I want to make sure they've got their passports. I want to make sure the final payment gets made, and I want to make sure I've delivered their documents to them. So those are tasks that I want to use when setting this up, okay? The next thing now is automation that's going to go out to the client, okay? And so I'm going to add automation, and I'm going to add in a traveling email, Now, status. Someone asked me about status, and this status is kind of important, okay? And so if you you can trigger statuses. You can trigger automation based on statuses. That's what this is asking here. Now, I know a lot of people just put everything but canceled, okay? And so you can put everything but canceled, but in this case, it's not going to really apply. So I'm only going to click these two because I'm going to actually use my statuses. And so now I've got it. If it's active or booked, and this is going to be passports, I want to do this 2 days after activation. So as soon as I add the client in a couple days, they're going to get an email about it. Okay. Actually, I'm going to put 1 day because I put 2 days for me to follow up. So 1 day. Now, here I'm going to select that I only want to send this passport email to the primary client. I'm going to next, and then I'm going to go find the template that I want. I'm going to type passport, and here's Keith's passport, and that's the one I want to use. And so I'm going to set the template. So you see, I have the first piece of automation going out. And so this is the one that we just made, and it's going to go 1 day after it's activated. Let's add another one. Here I'm going to make this an invoice. Trip status. I want to make it if it's active or if it's booked. Okay. If it is paid, I do not want to send the invoice, so I'm not going to mark paid or any of the rest of these. Only these two here. If it's canceled, I don't want it to send anything, and if it's checked paid, I don't want it to send the invoice. So I'm only going to check these two. And then I want this to go 45 days before the trip starts. And I'd like it to go out at 9 a.m. Eastern time. And I only want to send it to the primary client. I'm going to next, and here's Keith's invoice, and I'm going to set the template. So you see, we have these all set up now, okay? And everything's, looking good. So how are we going? Yeah, the questions are all look like they're doing good. Okay, excellent, Sophia. All right, so let's add the next one. The next one I would like to send is a before you go. And so I'm going to go here to traveling, and I want to go active and booked, paid, ready to travel. All right. And, it's sometimes, people only want to put ready to travel here. They don't want to send it if it's some of these others. That's up to you how you want it triggered. And so I'm going to click those, and I'm going to here say, I'm going to say 2 days before the trip starts. So I'm going to say 9 a.m. and Eastern time, and I'm going to send this to all clients. So basically what this is going to do is it's going to send everyone this before you go email. I'm going to next, and now I'm going to find the template that I want, and it was before you go, happy before you go. Okay, and I'm going to set the template. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to add a welcome back. So I'm going to go to traveling, and I'm going to put everything but canceled. If it's any of these statuses, send it. And I want to send this on the day that they return. And I'm going to put this at, say, 5 p.m. on Eastern, and send this to all clients. Okay. And here I'm just going to search for back. welcome back. Okay, and set the template. Now the last thing I want to do here is I'd like to send them a thank you for your booking. See, I like to do that. If I was a travel agent, I'd want to do that about 30 days or so after their trip. You know, just to get your name in front of them again. Hey guys, I really appreciate you letting me book this for you. Please keep in mind that I do all this other stuff too, because they think you only do whatever. If you send them on a cruise, that's all you do. So you just got to keep your name in front of them. And so traveling, all statuses except canceled. And I'm going to send this to the primary client, and I'm going to next. I want to send this 30 days after the trip's over. And we're going to send this at 5 p.m. Eastern. Only primary clients. Next. And then here, I'm just going to say booking. Thank you for your booking. And set the template. So now I have all of my items set up for everything, okay? And anytime I use this extension, it's going to do this workflow for me. How do we set up certain emails are automatically added each time and I don't have to add it for each client? I have trouble with groups, primary client, see everyone's information. Okay, Wendy, those are good questions. So we're going to take a look at this, okay? I'm going to show you how to do that. And I saw there was one other there, Sophia. What was that? I was looking.
It was about how to send automation to either just one client or
Yep.
if you wanted to send it to all of the clients. So kind of the same idea there.
Same idea. Okay, yeah, I'm going to show them both.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you that. All right. So now I've got this piece of automation and we called it Keith International. All right. So I'm going back to my trip. Let me see if I've sent anything to this one. Yeah, I have. So we're going to do a new trip. And we're going to start off here. Well, I've got a problem with that account. Let's see. Why is that thing not letting me have the add trip? Well, that's just strange. Okay, so this one has some client portal activations, but that's all. I have some issue with this account. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is several things. Okay, now the first question is how do I do it? You know, to one person or whatever. So on this trip, I have a primary, and here I have a secondary. Okay, and when I add this extension, as soon as I add this extension, it's going to, number one, it's going to add those 3 tasks for me. So you see I have the 3 tasks. And then also it set up these emails. And it's going to send each one of these, okay? And see on the primary, it sent the invoice before you go, welcome back, thank you for your booking, and check your passports, okay? And on the secondary, it just said before you go, welcome back. All right. So see, inside of my extension, I told it what to send to the primary and what to send to the secondary. So remember that when we're in a trip and I go here to a group, and I go here to reservations, he doesn't have any reservations in here. Let me add one. And here we're going to say Jones. Okay. And then here I'm going to add a couple travelers. Okay, I'm going to have to get him a email address. All right, and then I'm going to add another one. So I'm going to create a new one, and here I'm going to put WRDOSER@gmail.com. I'm going to save that, and then I've got to come over here to Eric and add him in a email address. Can't send automation if he doesn't have email address. Okay. And then I'm going to go back and look at Eric's trips, and I've got this one here. And so now I'm all set. So this is a reservation inside of a group. Now, remember, all a group is just a grouping of several trips, and each one of those trips is a reservation. So when I come here now and I add this extension, then what it's going to do is it's going to bring in the automation, bring in the task, and it's going to do that for this reservation. Now, when I go add another reservation, I'm going to have to pull this extension in for them also. So you do it to each trip, or in a case of a group, each reservation. Okay? Now, when I do this in a group, does the primary client see everyone's information? So I think when you talk about seeing everyone's information, I think you're going to be talking about a client portal task, okay? And that's where they would see it. And so if I send a client portal task, and we can do that here, if I send a client portal task, then Eric is going to approve the task for him and Sarah. He's going to see each one of these. He's not going to see the information for the other travelers, okay? And so, you know, that you have to keep in mind. Now, what I've done is, I think I have, let me take a look here. Let me see my portal task, client task. Yeah, I have travel protection, terms, conditions. Okay, I don't want that one. Portal. Happy client portal task. Okay, here I just have traveler information, payment authorization, and travel protection. Okay, so you see, you can set an extension up for this client portal task. So when I come back over here to my trip and I go to this Jones wedding and I look at this reservation, I can come in here and add a new extension. And of course, all these failed because this trip's a long time ago. I shouldn't have used this trip. That was a bad example. But if I come here and I add in the extension for portal task, then it's going to pull this in, and it sent this out, and it's only going to send it to the primary here, okay? And it's going to review it for each one of these. Hopefully that answered your question, okay? All right, so what we've done is we came in here and we made an extension. We used that extension on a trip, and we see where it added tasks and added emails, okay? So where are we with questions? Everybody's good so far?
I think so.
Is there a way to add travelers if we don't know the names yet to fill out? So I'm getting a lot of questions on those on the client portal task. So let's take a look here and let's clarify this for people. Let me go here to another account. So let's take a look at client portal tasks because it seems like we had several um, questions. And yeah, Paul, in my cases, I use the same email address. I call it my junk mail. And if two the husband and wife have the same email address, yes, and you send it to both of them, then they're going to get several. Okay. And so in this case, only went to the primary. So we'll take a look at that though. That's something I want to look at because I want to clarify some of this for people. So I don't need that. And so here, okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to trips. I'm going to add a new trip, and this is going to be a vacation, and it's going to be. We know it's going to be a while, right? So let's say November 7th through the 14th. And this is going to be a Bedwell. Okay. And then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to add a primary. And I'm going to put Lauren. Okay. And so I have that. I'm going to add another traveler. And I'm going to put Jeff. All right. And then I'm going to add one more. And I'm going to put Luke. Okay. So we have 3 travelers, and we have one's the primary, and then we have 2 secondary. So this is basically a typical family situation, okay? And I've got this all set up. Now, let's say that they have a couple kids, and I just don't know their names. So that's something I'm hearing is I don't know it, okay? And you're on the telephone with them. You had a conversation with them, and I would think that you would have jotted down not their formal names, but their names. But let's just say you didn't. Okay. And I have seen this, and I think it's the craziest thing in the world, but I've seen it. I've seen people come here and click and add a traveler and make it secondary, and I've seen them type child 1. Child 2. And then, but the thing is when the client gets that email and they see that you put child 1 and child 2, to me it shows that you weren't paying attention. So I suggest you jot down the names, of the people going on the trip, and while you're on the telephone with them. But you can put whatever you want, okay? And
I
so
think, Ron, if I can interrupt,
sure.
I think that's really good advice, for people to write them down. But of course, sometimes you might forget a kid. So if you know that you've missed someone, you can also, in those portal tasks, you can request for them to ask for feedback and say, can you list all of your children's names? And so you could send that portion out first before, just to kind of take away a bit of that pressure.
You could send them a plain task, and just say, please provide me, the first name and last name of people going on the trip. That's an excellent idea. We could definitely do that. You know what I mean? And so that's a real good idea. And so right now we don't have a way. We will have it in the future, but we don't have a way for them to add another traveler. They can only correct one that's there. So very good point, Sophia. That's excellent. So now I want to send this client portal task, uh, email, and we know we would just click here and go through and do client portal task and walk through and set it up. But see, I've done that in an extension. So I'm just going to add this extension here, and I'm going to put here the client portal task. And I'm going to save it. And when I did that, this just got sent to her, and it's all ready for her to review it. Now, let's talk about the differences. So we set this up, and we know that when we go look at this email, she's going to get one, and when she goes and reviews it, it's going to have, all of the names, everybody on here, okay? And that's because we made her primary and we made these secondary. So the primary on the trip is going to get it to review for everybody. So let's take a look at another situation to where what I want to do is I want to come and do a new trip, and I'm going to do a regular trip, and this is going to be a vacation, and it's going to be November the 7th through the 14th again. And we're just going to say this is the girls cruise. And I'm going to save that. And now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to add a traveler, and I'm going to make this secondary. And here I'm going to put Karen Adams. And then I'm going to add another secondary, and I'm going to add Margaret. Come on. Margaret Adams. And I'm going to save that. Now, what happens here is I've got two secondaries, all right? And so what I've got to do is I can't send them that same one that I did while ago, okay? And so let's go take a look at what I'm talking about. So let's look at this. Let's look at this client portal task. And so here I've got the happy client portal task. And then I'm going to come up here and click update so I can review it and see what it's here. So I did this, but notice here it's only primary clients. Okay, so I can't use that one because it's not going to send it to anybody, right? Because there's no primary client on there. So if I come back here and I look at my extensions, and here I have one I call client portal task split invoice. So let's take a look at what this one does. And so here I have the same things, but when I look, it says all clients. So it's going to send this to everybody. All right. And so this is the one I'm going to use. And it's going to ask all these questions. And when I go back to my trip here, and I go to the girls cruise, and I bring in the portal task split invoice, all right? And you can call this what you want. Basically, I'm saying these are all secondaries, that these are girls or boys, guys in a room, and they're all going to pay their own way, okay? And so when I save this now, see, this got sent to all clients on here, okay? And so here I have all of them. Now, when I go and check the email, you see here, we got one for Karen. And when Karen goes to review her stuff, it's just going to be her. All right. When she goes and reviews her. And then when I click here and I go to Margaret's, when Margaret goes in to review hers, it's just going to be her stuff. Okay. And so, you know, we get a lot of confusion around this topic of what the primary and secondary means and when to use it. And for automation, okay, and you know, you have to be careful with your automation because you've got to set it up. Because remember, sometimes we have it only going to primary, sometimes we have it going to all. In this case, you know, I don't have that. So you've got to drive these things more individually. Now, any email template can be sent at any time. So I'm going to come over here to uh, one of these that has a booking, and see, I've got this traveler, and if I come here to communication and I want to send her, uh, thank you for your booking, I can manually do that. Okay, so I just came here to communication, I pulled this template up, and I'm just going to send it. It doesn't have to be done with automation. Okay, you can do things individually. All right, and I forgot earlier. I will show you now how that when we put that thing on here to where I said I could edit this. Remember, and this comes up here, and I can click this and edit. So now I can change this information. Okay, and um, and so I could say on July 17th. Okay, and now when I save that, every time I send this invoice for this trip, it's going to say this until I come in and change it again. And so that's what this is set to do. Okay, so I can pull up any of these templates and I can send it to them. Okay, just manually. So you can set things up with automation and do it, or I can, you know, do them individually like this. So how are we doing on our questions? You think we've covered? I have one client with 4 booked cruises. I find I have to add her passport documentation to every trip. Passport document. So the only way the question is I guess I'm saying that you know, we're going to, I've got 4 cruises booked for one client, and that's great. That's awesome. And I find I have to add her passport to documentation in the trip every time. So what they're talking about here is when I do this schedule automation and I go to do this task, I go to client portal task and I 0 after activation. I just want to get here where I can show you. And so here, when I put the travel personal information, if I'm going to require them to do the passport validation, I guess that's what they're asking here. Now remember, if I do this and it's already in there, all they do is click the button to validate it. Okay, they don't really have to fill it out. But if you know you have their passport information, then you just don't check that one. Okay, so you've already done it 3 times. Then when I send that, but if you do it every time, you know, all they're going to do is check the box that yes, this is right. Okay, we can't add it to the clients and trigger things from the clients because we want to do it when it's part of a trip. So hopefully that you know, helps you. Now, one of the things that people want to do is they want to be able to upload, say, a picture of that passport to the client. And so in the near future, you know, we are going to have, when you go here to Cindy, there is going to be a place to upload documents here, you know, to the to there. And I guess maybe what the question was more like when I go here to this, maybe what she's saying is she uploads the document here, to this trip. But I don't, that's okay. Excellent. Yeah. Just wanted to add the picture, add a picture of the client. Yeah. So we're going to be adding that to the clients, but right now, we don't have that. Okay. And so, would it be nice, better instruction or $2? Would it would be nice if better instruction or $2 was available on screen. That, and so the question is like, adding just something here to just have a little tip box, that says here. You could click on a little piece of information and it would tell you how to do that right there. And that is something that we're working on. Rhonda, I appreciate that. I think that's what you're saying there, is that you would like to be able to get little tidbits of information. Currently, we're working on, we have our documentation site down here, and you can go here and see the documentation. Sophia and I are currently working on rewriting all of this because some things have changed since it was done, and we have a new way of doing some things. So we're certainly working on those things. What you got, Sophia? You have something to add?
Well, I was just going to say that, for anyone who's having some trouble with this, feel free to email me and I'll be happy to take some time and have a one-on-one call with you. We want you guys to feel comfortable. And so again, please reach out if you could use the extra help.
So the question here is about deleting templates. And, the thing is, because of, Claudio, my co-owner, with me, we both came from the financial industry and we didn't delete anything. You could make it inactive. So that was kind of ingrained in us, and stuff. And we always want that audit trail. So we are going to come back, and I know development team is working on some ways to delete some things. But just as soon as we let someone delete something, they're going to come back and say, hey, I didn't really mean to delete that. So, but I know that you would like to keep everything nice and clean. And so make it inactive, and then it's not going to show up in your drop down when you come over here to use it. But you will see it in your list of your templates. So I know that you would like to delete those, and we've got that coming. Okay.
And you can also just edit one of the ones that you are not currently using. So you can take one of those old templates that are just kind of a waste of space, and you can create a new one, so that you don't have them stack up so much.
Rhonda's like, yeah, I need to delete some. So, Sophia, they want your email address. And so,
yep, it's Sophia, SOPHIA, at traveleSolutions.com, and I'll type it down in the answers as well.
And if you forget that, you can always type sales, and we all get it. So we definitely want to hear from you. And, Sophia's been with us since December, and she's doing a great job. And she's our customer success manager. And she's here to work with you guys to help you be successful. So I appreciate this time today. And we're going to go ahead and let y'all get back to what you were doing. And we will catch you next time. Thanks.
Thank you all. Goodbye.